Good morning and welcome to the WAVY Digital Desk. I'm your host, Sarah Gu. Today we're going to be talking about TikTok. So last week, Biden signed a bill that gives TikTok parent company ByteDance 9 months plus a 3-month extension if it's during the sale to sell the app. This comes after bipartisan support, citing national security concerns. And today we're going to talk a bit about what is happening, talk about those national security concerns and, the nuance of it. So today I'm going to bring on our guest in just a minute. He is a professor at Old Dominion University, and he is going to be with us to talk about what's going on from his expert perspective. Professor Lee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you, Sarah, for your invitation.
Absolutely.
Also, I want to say hello to our audience.
Right, exactly.
It's a pleasure.
And I want to say, whoever's joining us, I don't know if we'll be able to get to everything, but if you do have any questions, even that I can point you to articles or things later, please drop them in the conversation on Facebook or YouTube. I want to give you the proper introduction first as well for people, just so if they don't know Professor Lee. Professor Shaman Lee is a professor of international business at ODU. He's an eminent scholar and chair of the Department of Management. This also comes with, 40 years of expert experience talking about, Chinese business, the economy in the U.S., and so forth, so much, right? So you're definitely the expert here talking to us today.
I hope so. Yeah.
Right.
I will share my views with the audience, with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to, just a little background. You've been taking a look and explaining sort of the nuance of these national security concerns that we've heard so much about. And, I think how interesting it is today that this is one of the bipartisan issues that everyone agrees on are these national security concerns. It's difficult to even find a place exactly to get started. But, I think the most important thing to say, too, is that TikTok is saying, look, we've spent money on this and there are no, national security concerns that we should have. I think they say, we've invested billions of dollars to keep the data safe and our platform free from outside influence and manipulation. That's their most recent statement after last week. I guess, what are your first thoughts, hearing that statement?
That is misleading, very misleading. Okay. So if we want to understand this issue, we have to go a little bit further back to the greater picture of what the Chinese Communist Party is and how does that party we call CCP, Chinese Communist Party, manages China. It manages China. We know that's a dictatorship, right? And the CCP's ideology is to liberate the whole world with communism. To start with that, they have to have a total control, dictatorship in their own country. So that makes the party, the Communist Party, actually owns China, which is an entirely new concept to Americans. We know there's a line between state and society, but there's no such line. The party owns the government, the people, and the firms. So that is the background. Okay. So let's see. Let's just take a look at the TikTok statement. Okay. We don't have Communist Party members on our board, and the data is stored outside of China, therefore it's safe. But if you look at how the Chinese Communist Party operates, it's like, as I said, every citizen, every firm has the obligation to help the Chinese Communist Party to collect data, collect intelligence is in the law. And I recently watched a case, an interesting case. An official went to a residence and gave an order to the resident, say, you have to test for COVID. And the guy said, no, I'm not going to test for COVID. And the official said, that's a violation of state rules. You realize not only you, but 3 generations of your descendants will be adversely affected. Think about that. That's pretty severe. Essentially, your whole career, plus your sons, your grandsons, your great-grandsons, their careers are over in China. Does the CEO of TikTok or the CEO of ByteDance know that? Of course. They don't have to have an explicit order from the Chinese Communist Party to do anything. They will do it automatically. So wherever the data stays, whether they have a member on the party member on their board or they have explicit written order, those are irrelevant. So that's the thing that we have to understand. The party runs the whole country like a company, very efficient, concerted, and every element of that I called China Incorporated. Every element knows what exactly you need to do so that your 3 generations descendants will be in party's favor.
Wow, I mean, and you talk about too, in these articles and in your, your research, there's no clear line. That's a statement that you repeat. And obviously there you can see it. It's no clear line for both the individual, but then also to bring their family into it, to bring in that community.
Right. So ByteDance and therefore TikTok, they follow the party's order not only for the survival of their own business, profitability for their own business, but also for the survival and safety of themselves, their staff, right? Well, think about what they have done. Just look at TikTok's waging a whole gigantic, campaign to stop the passing of the Congress resolution and the signing of the president on TikTok. They can, at one point they mobilize all the teenagers, hundreds of millions of them, to call their congressmen to stop this, because TikTok first mislead them, say, okay, we're going to be banned tomorrow, so go out, call your congressman. And some Congress people said, they said, by the way, what is a congressman? So, but it is very effective. That actually backfired on TikTok. That shows people how powerful it can be, how manipulative it can be. And we have to remember they're loyal to a foreign household force, which is not a small foreign household force. It's China's GDP. Many people don't know this. China's gross product, the gross output of the whole economy now is bigger than the US. We're number 2, they're number 1. Although the media always say, no, we're the number 1. But by real purchasing power, they're bigger.
And it's interesting too, the bill that this was passed along with, the legislation aid that was going to Ukraine, Israel, it also offers money to counteract or to add assistance or strength to forces to combat China in that area, which I think is quite an interesting context.
You brought a very, very important question. Look at the reciprocity between the two countries. Okay, in terms of internet, in terms of information safety or whatever control. Just recently, in the past couple of days, the Chinese government issued a simple order. I would imagine it's one line or maybe a paragraph. It says Apple and also Adrian, the Apple Store or the Google Store, take off the following apps: WhatsApp. We're familiar with WhatsApp, right? Signal, and the other one is Telegram. All the 3, they have encryption, so the party cannot monitor. And Apple and Google, I haven't heard from Google, but Apple just swiftly obliged and took those three, just equivalent to TikTok, 3 apps off their store, just like that, with one order. So as simple as that. Look at us. This recent attempt to ban TikTok is the 600 something. So we have had 600 effort, and still we are far away from banning it. So democracies, our system based on democracy and the rule of law, and competing against this dictator, it's just that we our founding father have not thought about that. They can ban 3 apps in one line in an hour, maybe a few minutes, and we're trying for years. We couldn't even be successfully effectively ban this thing. No, kind of control. Well, I shouldn't say ban. Control this very harmful app.
Right. We're not even deleting it. We are really just trying to find somebody else to take over this software.
Right. Yeah. And for that, I think because for our audience, there are 2 options, or there are like contingent plans. First of all, we want TikTok to be sold, to divest from their parent company, which is a Chinese company, ByteDance in Beijing. So we want to find a new buyer, preferably a American-based buyer here to buy it. So that's the option we gave to TikTok. And if it doesn't go through, we have to ban it. Actually, when we say ban it, it's not like in China you can ban the thing so easily, right? Because people can still keep TikTok app in their phone, although they won't be updated, and you can still get to their website. Because again, let me do another comparison.
Please.
When China bans, by the way, China bans Google, YouTube, and Facebook, you name it. China bans all the major portals, internet providers and websites from the US. And we couldn't even ban one, right? And more ironically, TikTok said, "Oh, you're infringing on, you're invading my freedom of speech." Well, and China said the same thing. I was like, God, give me a break. You banned everything there, and you have the face to say this. Anyway, so that's one concept called gateways. Gateways are the communication trunks, lines between countries. Okay, so gateways for the U.S. would be how internet coming into the U.S. and we can access that. Here, our government does not control gateways. The gateways belong to every private internet provider, service provider. It's just they can do whatever. In China, all the internet signal trunks going into that country are controlled by basically 4 gigantic state-owned telecom companies. So they can simply enter a keyword, like say, IP address of Google, illegal. That's it. I cannot imagine how, if we come to the stage we want to ban TikTok, it will be a very difficult task. But however, we should do it. We should learn. Yeah.
And it's just interesting, and you brought up the unconstitutional bit that they put in their message, right? The freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. And so obviously it wasn't just tomorrow, a couple months ago, when it said TikTok was going to be banned. Now it's not really even that 9 months and 3 months extension, because now there might be a legal battle that's going to ensue in the United States even before, some of that work goes into place. So now we're sort of at this standstill, I guess, and there's about 170 million US users, at least that they estimate. So what do you do if you're a part of that? Now, we've had apps banned before, we've had apps die before, just because of trending maybe, where another app comes in and takes its place. We've seen that with MySpace, we've seen that with Vine was a familiar video app, I think, that is sort of maybe an iteration of what, TikTok is today, but just videos. We've seen different things happen. What do we do in that instance, with your business expertise? Is that a factor here, that all of these people rely on the app, whether it is Chinese owned? There is a mass amount of commerce and advertising that goes on this app.
Okay, good question. First of all, we have to realize that the algorithm that ByteDance developed is very aggressive, intrusive, addictive. It's like a drugs. So that's why many youth they're just glued to TikTok. By the way, even if TikTok is sold, it's pretty clear that ByteDance or Chinese government would not allow ByteDance to sell its algorithm. So whoever
Right.
buys it without the algorithm, I'm not sure anyone wants to buy that. Uh, and it's more likely that there will be no sale because sale is so difficult. It's like a marriage. I mean, making a marriage is difficult, but breaking the marriage is so easy. Yeah. So price wise, everything and what is in the package. So if there's no sale, TikTok will be banned. To people who are using it, like vendors, small merchandise, well, we have alternatives, right? Uh, YouTube has a short video program, and it has been growing quite rapidly. By the way, TikTok's new subscribers is actually plateaued and began to decline. Uh, if I were a vendor, I would download my content, be safe, have alternative, and gradually change because I don't see long term, I don't see a future for TikTok. That is so aggressive and it really endangers our national security. You see the power when they mobilize this war against Congress, against the president's ban. So in the long run, it will not survive. And TikTok is just the first example that way under rule of law and democracy face that a very powerful app managed or governed by a dictatorship coming to our country. There will be more. They can be very, because we're an open market, we're a democracy. Anyone can come here to do business. But so this is a kind of a very painful learning process for us. Once we learn it, once we can, I mean, this is a crucial test for our system. If we fail, that would be devastating. We cannot even defend our security.
Right. And then, it's interesting you talking about that. We've had adaptability in business forever, right? People have learned, they went from at least online blogs, maybe then they went to YouTube, then they went to other apps, maybe they went to other social media platforms. So adaptability in business is key really on every level. So,
Yeah.
that really can't be an obstacle, I guess you could say, for this ban because these business owners, might have a website. They're going to have alternative methods to sort of continue. I did want to ask you too, just because it is interesting. This is not the first time, obviously, that we have had issues with Chinese relations in American companies. I went back to take a look, and one example was the Chicago Stock Exchange. They tried to get, investors or a company to come in, but it was blocked by the government in 2018. And then you have companies like AMC Theaters. Again, that one was also sort of blocked off. Smithfield Foods, though, that's local, and that is owned by a subsidiary of the Chinese-owned conglomerate WH Group. So, I mean, it is interesting to see, and those are obviously more consumer-based, but, it's interesting to sort of see where these business dealings come in with China to even today.
Good question. So longer term, how do we deal or handle the relationship with China? Especially in business, we have to realize the model that the Chinese Communist Party uses is very not only detrimental, it threatens the existing order we have been relying on to do business, the free market, rule of law. In the following sense, in our country, the government is a regulator. It does not involved into, it does not get into business, right? So they're in the let's say in the sports game, they are the judge, they're the referees. Business firms are players, but in China, the player, the judge, the referee, they're all the same. The government is business. The business is government. The business can has one business can have a deep pocket as deep as the government budget. How can you compete against that? And the government can be as swift, as quick as a business. We just cannot compete. We cannot have in the arena when we have players, we have referees, and suddenly a gigantic guy come in. He is not only the player, but he is also the rule setter. He's making rules. It's only one country only that does that, China. And given that size, it's very damaging. So in the long run, how do we deal with buying business? We don't really buy business from China anymore because you can't. You're not free to do that. But when the Chinese private firm comes to this country to buy business, and the private business, look, I don't have party members on my board. Look, all the operation is outside China, so you're safe. But you have to know this private business is a kind of a hostage to the party. It has to follow the party's order, either voluntarily or involuntarily, without any orders from the party. So it's like a sleeping cell. In the long run, we have to learn how to kind of deal with this. We don't have the solution yet because this is entirely new.
And we'll see, obviously, too, with technology developing, with AI and all these things, how that's going to factor in to all these different, business avenues as well.
Right. I want to add here, talking about AI, we know AI learns from past data. But when a powerful government mobilizes all the people to give fake news, to give information that is fake and so favorable to the Communist Party, AI learns that too. So AI become, affected by this, giant China Inc. So I tried to ask, let's say, ChatGPT for some Chinese content. I can see that the ChatGPT's answer is the official version of the Chinese Communist Party. That is also scary.
Right. It's not free thinking. It's been manipulated.
No. Yeah.
Well, I know that, this conversation is going to be ongoing over the next probably months to maybe even years. We don't know what's going to happen yet. The last thing I did want to mention, which I think is interesting, is, and we don't have to get into all the politics of it, but right now, people on the campaigns are still using TikTok. Biden himself and the administration is still using TikTok. It is really interesting to see these national security issues come up, but then there still is this use of it to sort of contact maybe, the different groups or the different demographics.
Yes, you mentioned this unfortunate fact that our own administration still uses it. I don't think they should. I think they should make an example and also educate, disseminate this important information for our national security. We should not do it. It's really up to each individual. If we are aware of this this danger and we know the background, we have a better understanding how the Chinese Communist Party runs China to take advantage of our open and free system, then we probably can help this process of protecting our national security.
And last thing, just for those maybe naysayers who say it's just an app for fun, it's just an app for fun videos, some of them have been playing on screen, it's just an app for social community and context. You've given a lot of examples here to sort of deny that claim. There's a lot of manipulation that can take place. There's a lot of power the government can have, and as you pointed out, to call your congressman. I mean, what do you say to people who think, oh, this is just a silly app, like let's just let them have it?
Well, I will tell them brainwashing, which is the specialty of communism, and those kind of effects are very subtle. It's not that dictatorship, their media or their state organ always lie. No, they sometimes tell you the truth. But in the process of telling you the truth, you say, yeah, those are credible. And they slip in some little bit of nudging you towards certain side, certain direction without you realizing that. That is very dangerous and very difficult to detect. Let's say statistically, if they have, if China wants to influence the election of a country, the country has, candidate A, candidate B. It doesn't have to say, making naked lies. You can have maybe I like A, so I will have 60% of A TikTok items, but 40% for this. And also this 60% are more positive. That 40% more negative. It's very subtle. It makes everything together. And first, it will give you very clear view that the influencer is against A, but in the process, you can see he's actually helping A without you realizing it. Those things, how can you control? How can you monitor? How can you clean? So it's a malware. For a malware, the best way is to stop it.
Absolutely. Well, Professor Lee, thank you so much for talking about this today. Again, this is probably going to be a continuing conversation. So, if there's ever any of the latest updates, we'll be sure to see, where that stands. But is there anything else, you'd like people to know that are watching, that are sort of utilizing this app now? Is it sort of be cautious, maybe consider trying out new platforms, maybe consider, stopping use of that?
Yeah, I agree. I think my last message would be you have to, try to pay attention to news or information on China because we should not underestimate this threat. There's a I use this the Russian threat. If Russian threat is a tropical storm, the China threat is a hurricane. It's a climate change more than a hurricane. It's slow and subtle. And if we don't realize it, I mean, it takes time for our democracy to adjust that. This is a new issue. We never had that before because America was really powerful number one. But now we are facing this adversary with a different form. So that's probably my first message. And also, I would urge people just to divest, to leave TikTok and be prepared. And that is not only for your own interest, but also for the national security, which is also your interest. Yeah.
Well, Professor Lee, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's joining us. If you want to find out more, I also linked your article and some more information about the legislation. Head to WAVY.com. You'll be able to see this conversation as well as look at more resources. So, Professor Lee, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Sarah. And I want to say thank you for our audience. And it's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.